Not every conversation needs to be loud. Not every disagreement needs to become hostile. And not every man is interested in spectacle. The society of ordinary gentlemen exists for those who believe that courtesy still matters, that restraint is a strength, and that how one conducts himself, especially when it is inconvenient, is a measure of character. This is not a platform for self-promotion. It is a place for thoughtful discussion, mutual respect, and personal accountability. The Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is an online community with the mission of cultivating modern gentlemen by teaching skills, habits, and mindsets that elevate personal style, communication, health, and lifestyle through community, courses, and mentorship. Membership is open to adults willing to uphold these standards.
Welcome to the Gentlemen of Faith podcast. I am your host, Anthony Buntyn, and it is indeed an honor and a pleasure to have you with me today. Today is a special edition because I want to do something different, and the title of this is, Do You Know Your Kids? I'm bringing this up because I've been watching the news lately, and we're seeing a lot of tragedy involving our young people. We know the Anthony Buntyn case where he killed another student at a track meet. Now we have the Nolan Wells young man around the 4th of July, was hanging out with some friends on a boat, came up missing, and passed away. Now there's a big investigation because they're trying to figure out what happened to him. There were some kids that are giving false statements and things are not adding up. But my point is this. This is the Gentlemen of Faith podcast. So I am talking and I'm appealing to all men of all faith. You are the head of the household. You need to know your children. You need to know what they're into, what they're watching, what they're listening to, who are their friends, what do they hang out with. You know, this is the problem that we're having nowadays, is that our young people have this sense of entitlement, and part of the reason why they have that is because we are giving that to them. We are letting them think that it is okay for them to do whatever they want. Now, for those of you that are my age and older, when we went out to play, we got up in the morning, we went outside, you stayed outside till lunchtime. You ate lunch, you went back out until it was dinner. And then if you were lucky, your parents let you go back outside and play. But we all had that universal time to be inside. And that was when the street light came on. When the street light came on, you better be sliding into the door. Now, my parents were strict on us. I'm telling you right now, my dad was an officer in the Air Force, and he was a minister, and they were strict on us. If we left the yard, we had to let them know where we were going. We had to let our mother know where we were. Back then, you can do that because we didn't have the type of crime that there is now. Let's be real. Our parents, they had to make commercials to remind them that they had children. It was 11 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Now, granted, my parents didn't have to listen to that commercial because when that street light came on, they knew where we were because we were inside that house. There are people out there that would snatch your kid. There are people out there that will rob your kid. Grown people robbing children. This is why you, as a man of faith, are head of the household. That gift has a responsibility, and you are that responsibility to know where your kids are, knowing what your kids are doing, knowing who they're involved with. And this is happening far too often, that kids are getting wrapped up and they're becoming suspects and victims, and the parents are like, well, I didn't know. I don't know. Some of these parents, when things happen, a kid comes up missing, I didn't know they had Snapchat. You're the parent. You need to know what your kid is doing. I knew exactly where my daughter, my son were at all times. She wanted a MySpace page, and I told her, no, you are too young. You do not need a MySpace page. And she's like, well, all my friends, they have MySpace. I didn't name all your friends. I don't care about your friends. I care about you. Well, she decided to listen to her friend, and they created her a MySpace page. Her friend got on her page with her password and started posting that she was pregnant. Now, mind you, she's like 10, 12, 13 at the latest. Made these posts telling me that she was pregnant. Somebody came and told me about it and showed me the MySpace page. And I was livid. I went home and I confronted my daughter. Naturally, she denied it at first, but then she finally admitted that her and her friend made this MySpace page. I took my daughter. We went to that girl's house. The dad wanted to have an attitude, talking about she ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm like, oh, yes, she did. She created this MySpace page for my daughter. She's going to open it up. She's going to take it off, and she's going to delete it. I will call the police, and I will bring her up on charges, and I would also have you sue. He finally got his daughter, made her come outside. She denied it at first until I threatened to call the police. And then she finally admitted that, yes, she created the MySpace page, and she got mad at my daughter, and she posted those things. And I said, you need to take this off, disable it right now. And she claimed she didn't know the password. Until I got on the phone, got her to call the police, and her dad started getting in her behind, and all of a sudden she remembered the password, and we got to take it down. Now, my daughter got in trouble because, why? Because I told her not to have that MySpace page, and she did it anyway. Our parents used to always tell us, you're going to have the same problems with your children that we had with you. I remember when I was about 14 years old, my dad was in the Air Force. We lived in Misawa Air Base, Japan. At that time, there wasn't a lot for young people to do on the base. It was a small base. They were going to the Post Exchange, which is kind of like a Walmart for the military for food. But it's kind of like a Walmart where you can get pots and pans and stereos. Back then, everything that we got from the States to overseas was always about 6 months behind. So when new stuff came in, everybody wanted to have it. So kids were shoplifting, and my dad being an officer in the Air Force and being a head of a department, I guess they got a memo from the base commander, watch out for shoplifters. My dad told us, do not go to the Post Exchange unless you have money to spend. Me being the knucklehead I was, I wanted to go check it out. So here I go up to the Post Exchange, and I was by myself. So I walk in, and I'm looking around, and I saw some kids from school. I went, and they spoke to me, and I spoke to them, and I went on about my business. I looked around and left. Didn't think anything of it. Shortly after, later on that evening, my dad got home from work, we're eating dinner. My dad gets a phone call, and it was the parent of one of the kids that was at the PX who was accused of shoplifting. He said that he wasn't shoplifting, the other kid was. He used my name, said, you can ask Tony, because he was at the PX and he saw me there. So then my dad got a call from military police asking to speak to me to find out if I knew anything. I wasn't a suspect, but because my name came up, they wanted to talk to me. So naturally, my dad complied, and I had to go talk to them. But I got my behind tore up, and I got put on restriction because I was where I shouldn't have been, and I went against what my dad told us to do. Okay? If I had listened to my dad, I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have got caught up in the middle of this. So, yes, I was reaping what I had sowed. The point of all this is, gentlemen, is that you need to know what your kids are doing. I remember when I was a kid, and my dad was an officer in the Air Force. We had an evening service. So in between services, especially during football season, my dad used to sit in the living room and watch football before he went and worked on a sermon before the evening service. I was probably maybe 7 or 8 years old. I'll never forget, I was downstairs in the basement playing, because that's where we all played at. I came upstairs. I was trying to sneak behind him, and he was sitting there watching TV. And I'm looking at my dad to see if he's noticing. My dad never turned his head or anything. He just looked. All I heard him say was, he's like, son, you can think about it, but don't do it. And I froze, and I started laughing. I'm like, what? He goes, son, everything that you're thinking about doing, I've already done and got caught doing it. So just don't do it. He said, you can think about it all you want, but don't do it. So my dad was always involved in whatever we did. Now, mind you, he was an officer. He was a high-ranking officer, and he was a pastor. But he also made sure that he knew and he was involved in every aspect that me and my siblings were in. When I played football, he coached football. When I was in Cub Scouts, he was active in Cub Scouts. When I got into martial arts, he took the course with me. My dad made sure that he knew exactly where we were and what we were doing. Especially when I got into junior high and high and was on the football team, they'd have these after game parties. My dad always asked me, who's there? Who's going to be there? What parent is going to be there? And if I couldn't give those answers, I wasn't going. If I couldn't say who was going to be there and what adult was going to be there, I couldn't go. And if I could go, my dad said, be home by 9:30, 9:45. I don't care what their parents let them do. I'm concerned and I'm responsible for you. My parents made sure that they knew everything that we were into, everything that we were involved in. Nowadays, this is the problem, is that parents are not knowing what their kids are involved in. We see it all the time. When something happens and the police are questioning the parents, well, who are their friends? Well, I don't know who their friends are. Well, where do they hang out? I don't know. The police start investigating it, and then they find that they have a Facebook page or they have Instagram. You are responsible. You are giving these kids too many rights. It is not the police's responsibility to raise your kid. It is not social services' responsibility to raise your kid. They do not know your kid. They don't know anything about your kid except for if they're a suspect or they're a victim. They don't know what they do until there is a problem. You're responsible for raising your kid. As gentlemen, we need to take that responsibility. And we need to make sure that we know who our kids are. What are they doing? What are they into? Who are their friends? Where are they hanging out with? If your kid's going somewhere, you need to know where they're at and what they're doing. We have a lot more knowledge and a lot more experience because we've already experienced a lot of this stuff. And so it is up to us to be responsible in raising our children, knowing what our kids are and what they're doing at all times. It is not the government's responsibility to raise your child. It is not the teacher's responsibility to raise your child. It is not social services' responsibility to raise your child. Because the reality is, they don't care about your child. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's reality. They don't care about your child until they become a suspect or a victim. They are drawn into the system. When you got kids doing school shootings, you got kids getting in gangs and stuff, there's a problem when these parents say that they didn't know. How can you not know? That is your child. You were given that responsibility. So you need to know where your child is, what your child is doing, who they're associated with, where they hang out with. And you know what? Look, my daughter, she had a phone. I knew the password. And I'd go in and I'd check her voice. I'd check her messages. Kids are becoming predators, a victim of predators. And some of them are becoming predators because they have no guidance. There are parents that let in the streets raise their kids. Why do you think there's so many people in gangs? Because you know what? Because those gangs are making those kids feel wanted. Even in a gang, they have rules and they enforce those rules. They have structure. So why is it that a kid won't listen to their parents when they tell them to do something, but they'll go and join a gang and let P. Diddy Rock tell them what to do? There's something seriously wrong with this. And we need to be involved in our kids' lives. We need to know what they're doing. We need to know who they're involved with, where they hang out with, whatever it takes. You are the head of the household. It is your responsibility. You were given that responsibility to raise that child. We need as men to step up and start being responsible for our children. If your child gets in trouble, you're the parent. You are responsible for their actions. You are responsible for your children. You are responsible to know their whereabouts, to know about what they're doing, what they're into, who their friends are. This is something that has not taken place. Some of you guys were raised differently. Some of you guys were raised without a father. Some of you guys just don't know how to do this. And I get that. There's no shame in this, okay? The shame is not seeking and getting help to help you through this. And there is a place where you can go to get this help. And I talk about this on every podcast. It's the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. It is a phenomenal group of men around the world that live as gentlemen every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. These men live as gentlemen. They have standards. They have a code of conduct. Even the society has its own constitution. It's all designed to teach men how to be gentlemen, so you can raise your children in the same manner. So you can show your daughter what a real man is, what a gentleman is. So you can teach your son how to be a gentleman and how to raise a child of their own, and to teach them what to look for in a woman and how to take care of a woman, how to respect a woman. And all this is through the Society. I'm the managing director for the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. But it is so imperative right now that I am getting to be the CEO of the Junior Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. We are getting to launch a junior society for young men ages 14 to 18 to help groom them into being gentlemen. This is such an important task right now and a dire emergency in our society, because we got too many young men that are out here that are getting involved in gangs, getting involved in violent crimes and stuff, because they have no structure. They have no guidance in their life. And we as gentlemen are responsible for this. You are responsible for not just your kids, but the kids around you. So am I. And what do you mean? Well, they're not my kids. It doesn't matter. As men, it is our responsibility to live by example. Let them see what a gentleman is, what a real man is. We got too many young men out here that are running amok. And some of it is their fault, but some of it is our fault as men, because we are not taking responsibility and we are not stepping up as men. And if you don't know how to do it, or you want some further guidance and further instruction, the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen is a place to go. You can go right here, www.beagentleman.org, and you can get involved. When you click on that, it's going to take you to, it's called School, SKOOL.com. It's going to take you there to sign up to join the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. When you get in there, they're going to ask you a couple questions. And because of that, they want to make sure that the men that are joining are sincere about wanting to live as gentlemen. They want real men that are serious about being gentlemen. And that's what these questions do. It weeds out those that are not truly interested. And then once you get in there, they have a place called the Classroom. They got training videos. And, they even have a gentleman's marketplace. It is the coolest thing. And you know what the best part about the society? When you buy something from there, all the money and the proceeds go right back into the society. It's ran off the donations of the members that are there. And having said that, all the money that comes into the society stays in the society. It helps to promote teaching material. It helps for training events. It helps for meet and greets locally, regionally, statewide, national, international. Even on Sundays, they have a live lounge where you can log on and you can see men from all over the world. We have members in Australia. We have members in Italy, in Africa, India, Spain. We have members from all over. We have some great conversations. We talk about political laws. We don't get into who voted for who. We just talk about the laws and how they affect us. They talk about styles, different styles and fashion stuff. They even talk about fragrances. That's how I learned about Carolina Best. Carolina Best is one of our sponsors. They are a wholesale designer fragrance company out of the Myrtle Beach area. So I started listening, and I heard them talk about things like Creed Aventus and Creed Viking. So one day I was at the mall, and I went to Ulta, and I got a chance to sample these fragrances, Creed Aventus and Creed Viking. They are phenomenal. I love them. And I was looking at the price tag, $350. I'm like, I cannot afford that, But I remembered about Carolina Best, so I go home. I get on the website right here, www.carolinabest.com, and they have over 400 different fragrances for men and women. And I looked on there. They had Creed Aventus. They had Creed Viking, 8 milliliter bottle, $10. Gentlemen, let me tell you something. I got those bottles, and it is mostly oil. It is Eau de Parfum level, which means that it lasts all day. I can put it on in the morning. When I get home in the evening time, my wife says she can still smell it on me. And you know what? 8 milliliter bottle is only $10. And they have over 400 fragrances. They have for women, they have body washes. They even have scented oils that you can put in an oil burner for your house. And it's right here at www.carolinabest.com. I learned it from the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. And this is what I'm telling you. They have so much to offer in this society. And when you get in there, they got men that love to mentor other men. They love to share their experiences. I love the live videos. I love the training. I love the posts. And I have grown so much since I've started with Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Just like this podcast, tell your friends, tell your family members, tell other gentlemen. Gentlemen, we have a major crisis right now that's going on with our young people. As men, it is your responsibility to know who your children are. If you have questions and you're not sure, the best place to go is the Society of Ordinary Gentlemen. Get involved. You can learn so much from these men. These men have children of their own. They have a lot of experience. They are willing to help you in this journey to be the best version of you as a gentleman that you can. And I thank you for being a part of the Gentleman of Faith podcast today. I thank you for listening, and I pray that you will continue to follow us, like I said, on all these major platforms. Let them know that you heard about it on the Gentleman of Faith podcast. Give them my name, and they'll get in contact with me, and I promise you I'll help you get into the society. And I look forward to the next podcast. Look forward to seeing you again and hearing from you. And gentlemen, let me tell you something before I go. Thank you for being on the Gentleman's Forum podcast today. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you again. And I challenge you to be the best version of you as a gentleman you can be. Take care.